Welcome back to another episode of Harlequins podcast. 2 wins and 4 quarters. My name's Michael, and as always, I'm joined with my cousin Will. And after a very, very hectic weekend, mate, how's things?
Yeah, good. A very hectic week. Well, very hectic month or so, really, with work. So I took Friday and Monday off and had a fairly large weekend, which was very successful. Obviously, Watford promoted back to the Premier League. So if you boys are still up there next season, maybe we can sort out an away day.
Yeah.
Although it's not much of an away day for me anymore. I'm probably closer to Brighton than I am to Watford now.
Oh, mate, Brighton had a terrible weekend. Like, beaten by Sheffield United, West Brom won, Burnley won. Oh, God, I thought we were
My weekend's been great. I've had Watford get promoted. I've had Quins with a last-minute try to win the game. I've had England women winning the Six Nations. It's been great.
Yeah, well, I played cricket on Saturday and got 40 odds, so I was fairly happy. Then I got wrapped on the pads and was given out by my mates at the other end. But nevertheless,
yeah, it's never out, that is it?
No, never out. I maintain that as well. I wasn't out in the last year's club game either. But we move on. Anyway, we have got mate, so much to talk about in this episode. We've got a lot of news that's happened and sort of came to light over the last few weeks. So the first thing I want to talk about is some of the COVID news that's gone on within the club. I'm not an expert on this, but I just think it's something that is prevalent to talk about. So I'm just going to very quickly read out the sort of the headline of the article on the Harlequins website. So
I need you to educate me here a little bit. I've followed it briefly, but I haven't dived too deeply into these articles. But everything we're doing is obviously with positive intentions. So
yeah, of course. And I think this is the overwhelming sort of point of it, is that we are, from what I've seen, looking to implement these new things within technology, within general ideas that are doing all the very best they can to keep players, staff of the club, anyone that's working in a work capacity within the club safe. So the headline reads: Harlequins confirm intention to offer optional live test of MyGP technology to support launch of UK's first NHS assured COVID certification feature. Now, I could go on and read the whole article. I won't, because I'd probably get lost in it. But I think the general tone of it is that the club are trying to introduce new things they can do to keep fans, staff, players safe. And then going on the back of that, I also saw, and a few weeks ago, there was a piece of news came out. It was either at Surrey Sports Park or it was at the Stoop. They introduced a new sort of ventilation system within the club or within the training centre to keep the airflow clean and all that kind of stuff. And, again, I'll say it again, I think the overriding sort of topic here is that the club are trying to do whatever they can to keep people working safe.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's, although the primary thing is the safety of members of the club, whether that be players or staff, etc. I think the main thing is they want to get people back in the ground. They're a business at the end of the day. They need to be seen to be doing these things and making a positive change. Even if other clubs aren't doing that, you look at Wembley at the weekend. They had fans for the FA Cup, not the FA Cup final, League Cup final,
Carabao Cup final,
Carabao Cup final. Obviously, the Stoop was host to the final round of the Six Nations with England v France. So they want to get people back in there. We've got Wasps at home in a couple of weeks. I don't know if that'll come too soon, but then Harlequins women are looking to secure a home semi-final. So there's loads of games coming up, which would be great to get, not necessarily a packed out Stoop for, but even if you get to 50%, that place would be rocking. So
I think it was 25% is the scheduled last 2 games of the season, isn't it? I think is the current cap that's out within the news. And I think you make a really good point about getting fans back in. I'm literally just going to read the next line of this article because it's in front of me. Harlequins are collaborating with MyGP to test a new COVID certification tool at a future home fixture at the Twickenham Stoop. So, look, it's all about keeping people safe and getting fans back in, which, if it works, I'm all for it.
If I have to get to the ground early to go through this, I don't care. To be honest, if it's a day out, it's a day out. We'll get there even earlier.
I'll be like Wimbledon. I'll camp on Twickenham Green overnight.
Time for an extra bit. I think it would just be nice just to mix with everyone again, and obviously in a safe and COVID-friendly way, but to get out to a live event, a live venue, and watch some live sport. I think this isn't a negative. It shouldn't be seen as anything.
No, 100%.
A hassle for anyone, to be honest. And actually, I saw at the Carabao Cup final, they were doing checks of phones you had to prove that you'd had a negative COVID result. I'm not sure the time frame on that, but it didn't look very strict to me. It was just people flashing their phones up. It could have been anyone's screenshot, but yeah, it's good to see that we're making a little bit more of a secure approach to that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I say, I'll say it again. If I have to camp outside Nella Gardens in Twickenham for 2 days prior to getting a ticket to go and watch Quins at the Stoop, I certainly will do that. So, great stuff. And anyway, let's move on. It's football. Now, we are a rugby podcast. We are traditionally rugby fans. Obviously, you're a Watford fan. I'm a Brighton fan, loosely at times. But I think it would be a bit of a remiss for us to talk about, or not talk about, the European Super League that's gone on this week, and maybe try and very briefly, without going too deep into it, talk about the sort of parameters and ramifications that it may pose to our game. Obviously, the backlash was pretty heavy and immediate. I didn't expect it to be canned within 48 hours of it being announced. But I mean, there have been talks on social media about the prospects of comparing it to ring fencing and how that suddenly starts looking like something that people are way more against than they were initially, because we've actually seen what it would look like potentially. What are your general thoughts?
I think, although it's rooted in football, I think it's a really strong lesson for sport as a whole. And it really shows the core values and the power to the people kind of mentality that fans have. For those of you who don't know much about the European Super League, firstly, where have you been? But secondly,
people living under a rock for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's effectively the biggest European football clubs all coming together to create their own league, which is governed by themselves. So if you think to a similar structure to something like the NBA, I assume, where there's no promotion or relegation.
Franchise tournaments, aren't they?
It's franchise tournament. Yeah, it's all money led. It's all about money. It would just be so impractical to do. It would kill the domestic games in all the countries that have participants within it. So England, Spain, and I think Italy had a few teams in there as well. And the reason we're talking about it now is because there are similarities between that and ring fencing. If you don't have promotion and relegation, then half of the teams in that league aren't playing for anything. Probably more than half the teams in that league aren't playing for anything, particularly when you've got it not even halfway through the season. And it just makes it a bit dead weight. And the only thing I can compare it to within rugby is Super Rugby.
Yeah.
And we all talk about how great Super Rugby is, but actually think about the population of somewhere like New Zealand compared to the UK and the amount of players that we're able to put through the system. And you look at the likes of Saracens and how many of their players spent time on loan at Bedford in the Championship, or at Quins, where how many of our players spent time on loan at Scottish or Welsh or Richmond. We talked to Louis Liner not too long ago, and he was saying how he spent a season with Richmond and had Brownie sort of mentoring him in the background. So these Championship games aren't something that should be just neglected. And we saw it at the start of this season with Cornish Pirates beating Saracens. You've got to have that opportunity for clubs to grow and have that sort of glimmer of hope that they will be able to be promoted to a top league. And not just the clubs, but the players that play for those clubs, that they've got a hope to get to the top level.
I mean, I've followed the Championship loosely for the last couple of years because I've got a couple of mates that are playing in it. And I've probably followed it more this year due to the fact that Saracens are in there, and there's obviously a bit of noise around that. When Cornish Pirates beat them on the first weekend, that was holy hell. Everyone have a look at Sarries for a week or so, and then they beat Ealing at the weekend, and there's a lot of talk on social media about Ealing, and there's a lot of talk on social media about Saracens. And I've got a mate that's currently playing at Bedford. I've watched it more this year. And I know that rugby's different because of the size of the sport. And I know that the Championship and the Premiership in football is such a different concept in a lot of ways. But in many ways, and I think you make a really point, in the core ways, it's the same, isn't it? It's
not about the financials. It's all about the core values and what sport represents. And for me, you think about it's the fairy tale factor, isn't it? That Cornish Pirates match against Sarries where they won. It was that fairy tale factor. And you look to the Premier League and teams like Leicester winning the league. That's what sport's about, right? Yeah. And you're removing the opportunity for things like that to happen.
I think actually the one person that weirdly summed up for me was on the Monday Night Football. What was it last week when Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville were on? They had Steve Parish on, the Crystal Palace chairman. I think he's chairman, and actually he summed it up in I think the way that it resonated with me the most. He's a leader in the club at Crystal Palace. I know that Alex Donbrandt's a Crystal Palace fan, although I don't like Crystal Palace. That's not the point as a Brighton fan. But he said, one day he dreams of Crystal Palace playing in Europe. That's what they're aspiring to do. Whether they currently sit 14th in the table or 12th or 11th or 10th, their aspirations, or they might not be able to win a league immediately. If they finish 5th or 6th, they get a Europa League spot. They maybe crawl into Champions League. You look at the way West Ham have played this year, and I know we're drifting into football chat here, and we're drifting away from the rugby, but the core value of actually what that means in terms of fair and honest competition and a level playing field with everyone. And I think rugby probably has that slight, more than football, with the likes of with a salary cap and the other things that we have within our game. It makes the idea of ring fencing suddenly we almost have an idea of what that would look like now. Obviously, before we weren't really sure of how it may have worked,
a bit scarier,
who was there and whatever else. But now that we've sort of had a glimpse of the other side of the coin and what that may look like in another sport, a lot of people that I've seen on social media have now gone, "Oh my God, that'd be terrible,"
Yeah, and quite rightly, it has kicked up the conversation in rugby. I saw Pat Lam speaking on it as well and saying that the Gallagher Premiership has to learn from football's mistake.
Yeah,
it will be detrimental to the league if you've got the bottom half of that table not really playing for anything, and then if it's detrimental to a league, it's also going to be detrimental to national sides, etc. So, which means it's bad for the game in general. We'll probably have less people playing if England aren't as good.
Yeah.
So it's just poor for the whole sport in general. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we've covered that enough. Like I said, we're not football experts. I'm sure there are people out there that might disagree with this. If you have any opinion, drop us a message, get in touch with us on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever it is. Just we'd like to hear on your thoughts just around that sort of topic. Up next, we had some signing news this week. A new name. Devastating that Brownie's going. Still not quite over it. It's like breaking up with a girlfriend, or the love of my life in Mike Brown. Nick David has signed from the Warriors.
He has.
He didn't play against us a couple of weeks ago, which
he didn't, did he?
It was almost like with Brownie when he didn't play against Newcastle. It's just like, oh my God, it's happening.
The worst kept secret
things are falling into place. But he's not a guy that I've watched loads and loads of this year. From the snippets and those social media sort of clips and stuff that I've seen, he looks like an exciting prospect. He's young, he's English, he looks like he fits the way we play. What are your thoughts on his signing?
Yeah, I was really hoping we'd see him play against us. It's like, how do you announce the signing without actually announcing it? It's the same thing we did with Brownie in Newcastle. But no, he looks a really good player. To be honest, I haven't seen too much of him because I don't really watch Worcester. All I've seen is I follow BT Sport Rugby on Twitter, and they're very good at putting highlights up and some tries and just match moments. They're really good at that. Actually, it makes it really accessible for people.
That's where I've seen most of the clips of him, to be fair.
Yeah, he's I've seen a few of his tries and he's electric. He fits the way that we play. And he actually had some really good things to say earlier in the week about joining Quins and how he feels like his brand of play fits Quins' brand of play perfectly, and it's going to be sort of a happy marriage. I know he played age group level with Caden Murley as well, so he's not unfamiliar to a few of the lads. He's a good young English player, which is exactly what we've always wanted to be at Quins, isn't it? We've always had that core group of good young English players and developing homegrown talent. So it'd be nice to get him in sort of early doors while he's still at 23 and hopefully build a long career with the club. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's quite funny actually when he didn't play against us. I was sort of hoping that if it was going to be a deal that we'd hear about in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I was hoping that he played against us, we beat them by 50 points, but he scored a length of field try where he picks the ball up, runs past all of our players, then dots it down in front of the post. But no, say not. I mean, look, he's certainly something that I'll watch now for another few games and see how we get on. But yeah, we'll see we'll see how he progresses and see whether he's running in tries, and hopefully he comes to us in a bit of form, which would be nice. And then next, we're talking about running in and scoring tries at the Twickenham Stoop. England women, 3-time on the spin, Six Nations champions, is a hell of an achievement. It's a massive achievement.
Massive achievement. All the sweeter as Harlequins fans, given that we had an absolute half the team was, from the Harlequins women's side, and the fact it was played at the Stoop. What were your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it was a really tight game, wasn't it? Yeah, low-scoring one, 10-6, just the one try that separated the sides, particularly in sort of glorious sunshine at the Stoop, which has seen so many tri-fests over the recent weeks, particularly in this kind of weather. But no, it was a real tough battle, wasn't it? France looked really good this year. And actually, when we had to pick our fantasy Six Nations team for this weekend, it's the toughest one it's been. And I'm not surprised, because that's how it's supposed to be with finals weekend, isn't it? You pit the best against the best and so on. So it only feels like a few weeks ago we were speaking to Jesper Izzy Mayhew about this tournament and how it was great that they had their own Six Nations window.
Yeah.
I've never been so engaged with it. I was looking forward to watching games at the weekend. It's nice seeing the team play at our local ground as well in the Stoop. I can't believe how quickly time's going. That came and went so quickly. I know they played less games because it wasn't your traditional Six Nations format, but it's going so fast.
And obviously, we were lucky enough to talk to Rachel Burford about it. Not many people that have got knowledge on the game like her. And we spoke to after the first week, and then all of a sudden it's the final, and they've won. And she's obviously then come back and played for Quins in between that. I mean, mental how quickly that's gone. But
time's going so fast, isn't it?
Yeah, things are opening up. Maybe it's because I'm spending more time in the pub. I'm remembering less, but things are all molding into one. I've just been I've been in the house every night, and I'm not in the house every night. It's still quite nice, but no, I mean, look, all I can really say about it, the game was tight. Amazing to have as many Harlequins players on the pitch as we did. Some off the bench, some starting, and the game, and the fact the game was at the Stoop. Fingers crossed that is an excellent omen for future games this season with the women's side of the Stoop. Hopefully, those same players with the additions of the rest of the Quinn squad can get a home semi-final and win the Allianz Trophy.
And exactly, and a taste for silverware. You get used to winning, don't you? So
absolutely,
it's good to get a taste for it, especially this time of the season. It's good to do it on your own patch. So I'm sure it will have a positive influence going forward. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before we move on to the game down at Brentford, the Community Stadium against Irish, we would be doing two of our greatest ever Harlequins a worrying disservice if we didn't mention their names. 350 appearances for the club, Mike Brown. 300 appearances for the club, Danny Kerr. The numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, monumental.
Oh,
monumental.
The longevity is quite... I hadn't really clocked it sort of in my own head, and then I actually think about it and you go, that is a hell of a stint.
Oh, ridiculous stint. But then you've also got to factor in the amount of time they would have spent away with the national side as well. Think about how many caps these lads
70 80 caps respectively.
But, both of them got within that vicinity of England caps, which is ridiculous. And obviously traveling around with Six Nations this year, we know how much time that took out. So to rack up those numbers is just quite ridiculous. But also to perform at the ability they still perform at, very much two spearheads in our side. Both attacking and defensively, actually, going into the end of this season, they're our standout players. So we talk about the likes of our next generation with Smith and Dombrand. I like to think that the impact these guys have had on them has been invaluable. And Marcus actually gave a really good interview after the Irish game, celebrating their careers and the impact they've had on him, not just professionally, but personally as well. So those kind of characters are invaluable. We'll miss Brownie hugely. It's good to have DC re-signing. But we put out tweets saying that there are not enough superlatives to describe them and what they've done in their own careers, let alone what they've done for the club. The amount of people they've positively impacted at the club over the last however many years is ridiculous. So huge achievement.
It was a bit of a weird one watching them run out at a stadium they've never played at before, empty, away from home, and those two leading out. And obviously it was quite sort of cool watching them out running next to each other. Then you just saw DC just sort of pat Brown in the back of the head and was like, "Oh, go well, mate."
Just hell of a bromance.
I know.
Goosebumps. It was class, wasn't it?
How much time have they spent together in the last? How many years? Like you spend so much time with someone like that
and grow together. They've grown families together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They've won together. They've lost together. They've played everything together in good and bad times. They've had amazing ups with Quins and some fairly low points as well. And then I hope. Obviously, we know we've got DC for next year. I'll be absolutely devastated if not myself personally, but any of the Quins fans don't get in to give him just everything he deserves in his sort of final battle for the club. I hope it's with some silverware. I just hope it's in a big game at some point with some fans in at home.
Yeah,
who knows?
Definitely. He also sealed it with a try, didn't he?
Absolutely.
At the weekend. So, but I think
it was DC off a breakdown. Bullet pass, Brownie runs a hard line and scores. How many times in the career have you done that together?
Exactly, yeah. I think it was quite nice that actually he was able to celebrate the occasion, not just with the try, but with probably the tightest knit group of Quins players we've seen in quite a long time.
Yeah.
We're obviously a bit gutted we weren't there to see them both run out and to see them score and to celebrate their careers. But actually, I think they would have taken just as much of a kick out of spending it with their best mates and spending it with the rest of their teammates and having a beer in the change room afterwards. It's those kind of qualities in sport that when you play it, they're the memories that you don't forget.
For sure. I mean, I saw some of the photos on social media afterwards, and man, they just look like such a close bunch. And they all want to have a photo with DC and Brownie. Of course you would. There was a couple of quite funny photos actually. I think it was Joe Gray, DC,
Will Collier and DC,
Will Collier, and I think it was Robbo commentated. Can we have this flip with the shirts off? So you stick Danny's shirt on, and you get the two front rows with the tops off. But no, it was so good to see stuff like that. And obviously,
great, yeah.
That's probably the highlight of the game, isn't it? You walk off, you have a beer in the change room, mate, and you get a few photos and make some memories. That's probably as close as you get to that sort of high of a crowd at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you saw all the academy lads at Barcelona when they won a Spanish Cup recently. Messi was posing with the photo, and one by one they'd come in.
Yes, I did see that.
It was literally like a meet and greet.
Yeah, I did see that. It was almost like Messi was standing. That's like a cardboard cutter, wasn't he? Just shoulders up, arm round. They'd all just sort of like sweep and come next to him.
One in, one out.
Yeah.
Sure. Brownie and DC had
swapping people's phones as they go.
Yeah, definitely. Should we talk about the game?
Should we talk about the game? Yeah. What we? I mean. I don't
knew
really
it was
know
going to be hard, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't really know where to go with it before half time. Like they dominated.
I do.
So, well, yeah. Go on then. You go on. You go because I my feelings are a bit mixed on it until after the 40-minute break. Go on. You go.
Just such a slow start. We've got used to having fast starts. Even if we're not the first to get points, we're always there and playing and firing shots. And we were just so slow to get out the blocks. And that a big part of that was down to indiscipline. And as I was watching it, it reminded me of sort of the Gustard era where we were giving away penalties and we don't learn and we're giving away another penalty. And actually we're giving the opposition free yardage up the pitch. And all of a sudden they're in a position to kick points. And lo and behold, Paddy Jackson knocks over 3 points on numerous occasions. So having said that, I'd probably split the first half into two halves. And the back end of the half, we began to sort of bring ourselves into the game a little bit more and actually get over the whitewash twice. So even though we're having slow starts and we're giving teams opportunities, we're still able to claw back in and actually take a lead into half time. But we knew it was going to be tough. It's a London derby, and Irish are always one of those teams where they probably get a bit of disrespect, but because we always think we'll beat them. We always think we're better than them, and I still think we are. It's not going to change. But they're a little bit like Worcester, where we do have it in ourselves to slip up against that opposition. So to give them the foothold in the game right from the start, we were always going to be up against it, and you only need to look at the second half and how we were clinging on right until the end, and only just getting it at the end. It was summed up by that for me. We got out of jail. It really was a smash and grab.
Oh, 100%. It was an odd one for me because I made a comment that a couple of people messaged us on Twitter sort of agreeing with when we played against Worcester. It felt like I'd watched that game a lot this year. There were so many similarities with the way we played other clubs in terms of how we attacked, at times how we defended, the scoreboard. That was a bit of a new experience for us that today, playing from behind. Annoyingly, there's another similarity with Andre being sent off. We'll talk about that in a bit more in a second. But it felt like we needed, and I think I didn't actually message you this. I actually was going to and I forgot. We probably needed that at some point, learning how to win an ugly game. Because all that's been spoken about us all year is that we'll run in tries, we'll beat you, unstructured attack, we'll fly through you, we'll score X, Y, Z, we'll, sevens rugby at times where our defence is sometimes a bit loose, and doesn't matter. When we play our best with ball in hand, no one can touch us. But which is all it's all true. But we needed to win an ugly game, and I think that's what that was.
So good to win ugly. I mean, it's not as enjoyable for a fan because A, it's not as attractive to watch, but B, it really is way more nerve-wracking.
Yeah, 100%.
When the results in the balance like that, and that's what makes sport so exciting. But always going to be biased as a fan. You just want your team to rock up and run right over the opposition. And there's the reality, particularly as we get to the end of the season, that is just not going to happen.
No, not at all.
So as you say, a similarity to Gloucester where Andre got the red and we managed to win ugly there. it was actually quite nice to see us win ugly. And we just talked about being in the changing room after the game. If you're in the changing room after a game, two of your legends of the club have just had huge achievements, appearance-wise, but then also that you've had a last-minute try to win the game.
I know.
You can see the passion. There's a great photo going around of Marcus diving over the line with a smile on his face. There's Luke Northmore charging in behind him, screaming his head off. It was so good. You love those kind of wins. Like, we can talk about giving away too many penalties and not really showing up in the way that we usually show up and red cards, but I take a lot of satisfaction from that win.
Yeah,
probably,
I mean,
just as much as where we run right over the opposition.
Satisfaction, I think is quite a good word, because it wasn't satisfying to watch, but it was satisfying just to know that we have the ability to grind out the game. I think you can make quite a good point. I almost imagine them being in the changing room afterwards, and they've all come in, they've all sat down and gone, well, we got away with that one.
yeah. You look at the player next to you and you know they've given their all. They've fought with you for the last, however long it was, sort of half an hour when you were down to one player less, and they've fought with you and fought tooth and nail, and you've managed to grind out the result. And I remember when I was playing, if I was to play a game and we win by 30-odd points, it's great. You get in the changing room afterwards, put the tunes on, everyone has a bit of a party. But when you get in the changing room after a last-minute try to win it, it's just so much better. So
I played in a few games like that, sort of hockey-wise, where you're just going, got away with that one.
I
didn't think we were going to get there.
It was a smash and grab, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And everyone loved the smash and grab. The two main talking points of the game for me, both slightly disappointing. Losing Webb is going to be almost irreplaceable at the minute. I mean, Ken is. I assume if we're going to play with that, over the ball breakdown specialist, and if he's coming off the bench, I assume he's going to get the start whenever that may be in a couple of weeks' time, which is going to be massive. I mean, I don't know how those shoes get filled in the immediate future anyway. Whether we go for maybe a slightly more dominant carrying back row and bring back an Archie White into the mix, Chiz maybe fit again.
We need Chiz back, don't we? We are a little bit lightweight now.
Yeah, I think
I know Webb's not the biggest player, but we do look a little bit lightweight when we I would bring Archie White in. I think he had an awesome run of games right after the post Gustard.
He captained the captained the A side against Bath on Friday, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's unlucky to lose his place, to be honest. I'd bring him back in. But you also talk about Lauday, who captained the side against Ulster and was probably one of the shining lights in a disappointing evening.
Yeah.
But we have got, as you say, plenty of depth. Jack Kenningham as well, but he's got irreplaceable shoes at the minute, so it's a hell of a task for someone to come in and do that. But I'd like to think we still have enough over the pitch to get top four. I think we do have enough, and I think we've got a relatively nice run in. But I do think when we do get to a knockout game in a semi-final against next door of Bristol, he's the kind of player you look to break up their play.
Get you a big turnover.
Get you the ball. Yeah, it's more about preventing them from doing anything as opposed to setting up your own lads as well. So
I mean, getting the turnover, making 30 tackles, whatever it may be, that's the sort of thing he does. And I think you're right. I mean, we'll play the run of games we've got next, and I fully 100% believe that we've got enough to beat the teams we come up against. But the leading turnover merchant in the league's tough to replace, isn't he?
Exactly. Stats speak for themselves.
Yeah, and to be fair, we'll say, as I messaged you at the time, he was also in a hospital bed the other day after having, I think it was surgery. I saw him had a big boot on, and he seemed in good spirits. I know that he's probably pretty happy that he's a big Norwich fan. They've just got promoted back to the Premier League, so I think he's pretty happy about that. But he was doing this thing on his Instagram story where people can comment and roast him, and a bit of thick skin, bit of a laugh and a joke. It shows that he's got a good head on his shoulders, and that he's I know he's got to miss out. I mean, he actually put a really touching message up on his Instagram. He said, "Look, how devastated it is to probably be ruled out for the season." Not 100%.
He's gone for the season.
Yeah, well, there you go, gone for the season, and how devastating that is. But also, he's got probably I'd say a pretty big job to do, just watching and helping the boys out that are gonna have to fill his shoes.
Yeah, he also said that he's never enjoyed playing rugby more than he has done.
I did see
club,
that,
which was a really nice sort of vote of confidence, wasn't it? So,
100%.
and that was evident to see because he's had an exceptional season. But the sad thing is one of the things that he put up on his Instagram story for when people were roasting him was about he'll never play for England, and actually this summer was his chance. This summer was his chance. Like he should have been on whatever summer tour there is with England.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity. So,
because you'd imagine the likes of Curry, Underhill, etc., will likely be away. Well, Curry for sure, Underhill maybe.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity to get him in, isn't he? Him and Domers. Imagine a back row of him and Domers in an England shirt in our summer tour. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, massive shame, but we'll see what happens in that regard. The next thing we should probably talk about is the card for Andre. Annoyingly, that's his second red of the year. I don't know what that means in terms of ramifications in terms of a ban.
We don't know yet, but it won't be short.
No, it won't. It's likely to be 4 games maybe.
I think more, mate. I think more because it's his second one. So the one after Gloucester was 4 games, wasn't it? So it's going to go up again.
Gloucester one was 4 games. Oh no,
it's going to go up again, and it was back to the head again. So,
Jesus, that's massive, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a big loss because he's the catalyst in that back line that gets the boys going on the front foot. He's the monster in defence that kills their attack from the opposition's point of view as well. So, he'll be missed, and we'll probably talk about replacements, but we've got a few decent options in terms of Paul Asiki if we want that bowling ball crashing through the midfield.
Yeah.
And Tapawai kind of that ball playing 12. He's probably the shout that I would go with.
I think Tapawai is the one that I'd go with as well. I think it was Exeter he played, didn't he? When Andre
he played very well. Yes, it was. And then Luke Northmore, who was, by the way, when he came on yesterday, he was absolutely outstanding. He was my man of the match, and he wasn't on for half a game.
Yeah, my dad said the same thing.
He was awesome. Busting tackles, line breaks, the passion. He wanted it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him play 12 much, but given that he's able to crash through lines like that, I don't think he'd be too out of place. No. So we've got options. But as you say, I think it's a similar one to Wev. I think we've got enough there to get us into the playoffs. But when we come up against the Bristol Exeter, that's perhaps where we fall slightly short.
100%. Just wait to find out.
But when Andre did go off, it did open the game up, though. It was end-to-end stuff. There was a moment where Marcus managed to intercept, and it looked like he was going to get in. I was actually watching this bit while I was on the train, so I was like shouting at my phone around all these people, like fully going for it. When you sort of egging someone on, we talk about when Izzy Mayhew got her intercept, running in under the sticks. It was like me watching Marcus down the wing. Unfortunately, didn't have the wheels. Flung it inside, and then Irish do the same thing, got the other end, and they actually managed to dot down in the corner with Ollie Hassel-Collins. But it really opened up the game, and then because we couldn't play like that with 14, we had to play a different way and win ugly and really squeeze it and play tight. We managed to do that. We hung in there, and with our lot, if you're only 5 points behind or 3 points behind, I think it was going into
18, 21.
At any point in the game, if you're 3 points behind, you're always in with a shot. And that penalty that Marcus put in the corner, I don't know if you saw the kick, but I don't know if that got enough attention. He walloped it, and it went to sort of 8 meters out, and it was the perfect position for us to be able to have an attacking platform from. So he could have gone conservative, but I think that sums up his confidence as sort of the balls he's got on him. He's very happy to stick it in the corner and take that risk.
100%. How good was that? How good was him dancing over in the last minute? Our goose-stepping Filipino.
Yeah,
how good was that?
He was even saying he knew he had free ball, so he thought, you know what, the pass out wide was too long.
Yeah,
I'll give it a go, and just slice his way through. The main thing for me there was Joe Gray nailing a 15-meter line out. We talk about how he's just re-signed, and we know he's in our point of view, he's our reserve hooker. But if that's what your reserve hooker does in the 79th minute, we're in good hands.
Shows a bit of experience, doesn't it? Just a touch of, look, I've done this for 12 years in the Quins shirt, almost like I can nail my skill when it needs.
Well, everything in that sort of 60-second period epitomizes everything about the lads at the minute, with Marcus nudging it into the corner 8 meters out.
Execution.
Joe Gray having the confidence to hit that 15-meter line out. And as you say, that the discipline to really focus and hit the man and execute it.
Nailing your skills under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Nailing your skills under pressure. And then Marcus to start goose-stepping his way through the team.
Oh, so good.
And stick it under the post with Northmore coming in behind him to gas him up. So
I actually really enjoyed as well. They panned around to watching in an empty stadium, and Brentford have
coaches.
The coaches they've got quite a cool little sort of media setup there. They've got their laptops running. They can all see them sort of dancing about, and bombs, curly frizzy hairs bouncing about in the wind. And
I've always wanted my coaches to show emotion and really buy into the atmosphere in the moment, and they were all on their feet. It was great, wasn't it? All hugging each other. Brilliant. I'll tell you what, mate, that's what it is. It's winning ugly. So as we get towards the end of the season, there'll be more and more of them. But
100%. And we haven't got a game this weekend coming because it's back to Europe. So a chance to rest some bodies again.
Exactly.
I think there may be another A game going on at some point, but I think that would be quite a good thing to have if it was on. I'm not, again, like I say, I'm not sure, but a similar sort of side that played Bath United, that sort of similar side. Now there's a couple of spaces open up, with no first team game going on. Give some boys some game time and Sue sticks around up.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got Wasps up next on
Sunday the 8th.
On the Sunday at 3:00. So that's
huge.
A huge game. Got them at home. I think it's probably slightly too soon for fans to be in there. But yeah, that's a huge game. I feel like that's a make or break for us in terms of top four, because if we slip up here, and I think Saints have got Gloucester at home, and you can only see sort of 4 or 5 points for Saints there. So all of a sudden they're in the ascendancy with four games to go. So it's a really big game, that one.
Yeah, massive. I mean, I'm just trying to look at the table now. I mean, where are we at? 17 games played, 55, so it's 1 point separates us and Sale. We've got a 4-point gap on Northampton. Not sure. Regardless, it's going to be a fun weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, massive, mate. It's going to be huge.
Fun weekend down at the Stoop, and hopefully some more glorious early summer sunshine beating Wasps. We'll see. Anyway, mate, we've covered plenty there. I think we've dived deep and far and wide, which I've really enjoyed. And it's now early evening, early in the week. I might pop to the pub.
Nice. I think I'll join.
Spot on. All right, mate. Look, pleasure talking. Everyone, cheers for listening. We'll quickly plug the socials at Harlequins Pod, Instagram and Twitter. Get involved. Keep listening. Keep following. Keep getting in touch. We're absolutely loving all the support. So we really appreciate that. And hopefully more wins to come. Will, I'll catch you soon, mate.
Good stuff, mate. Speak soon.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.